Big shout out to my guys at Ned, helloned.com. Use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C at checkout. Get 15% off your order. They do CBD full spectrum hemp oil. They have a new new product called Mellow, which is pretty cool. I haven't tried it. They say it's cool. I believe it's cool. If you're gonna get CBD from anyone, get it from these guys. They're good people doing good shit, which in the CBD world is pretty rare because it's kind of a money grab for most people. Look into them. I did an episode with them a few years ago. Rhett and Adrian, super solid guys. Again, helloned.com. Use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C, at checkout. Get 15% off your order. They're great. That's all I can say with them. Say with them. Jesus Christ, can I talk today? All right, that's it. Get into the episode. Welcome to Synchronicity, the podcast where I take a week off and don't tell anyone. That's all right. I think my last break was 3 years ago, so I think I get a pass. Do I get a pass? I don't know. Someone told me that they haven't even been seeing my episodes on Apple Podcasts for I don't know, January, 3 months? That's insane. I don't know what's going on. Am I supposed to start a new podcast so it gets attention that way? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going on these days? I have literally nothing prepared, but I do want to talk about kind of the future of what I envision this podcast being, how it's going to fit in to my life, and hopefully still kind of provide you whatever the fuck you're getting out of this podcast. I have no idea. I do, kind of. It's fun. We're having a good time. One thing that I've been thinking about over the past, I would say at least a couple of months, is that I feel like I've drilled down, kind of beaten a dead horse with how the imagination interfaces with our lives. At this point, there's so many talks of me giving specific techniques or talking about what's worked for me in regards to manifestation or whatever you want to call it. It's great. It's awesome. It never stops being useful. It's the gift that keeps on giving. But in terms of what I'm talking about, do I really want to get up there and do the whole dog and pony show every single week? Not really. Not really. I don't need to be talking about that. Here's what I like to do in my free time. I like to make music. That's super fun. You may have heard some of it on the podcast. I'm devoting more of my time to doing that now than any other extracurricular activity. So here's what I think is going to happen with this podcast. Stay tuned. I'm going to change my mind. Who the fuck knows? I'm going to do at least 2 episodes a month. That's going to be for free. It's still going to stay here. For people who are really fucking in the deep vortex, by the way, 2 separate people accused me of being a cult leader privately in the past few weeks. What the fuck? Do I give off culty vibes? Because I talk about bending reality and how everything is kind of a dream. I get it. But what am I trying to get anyone to do? I don't know. I'm not in a cult. I know this is something that Jess has spoken about too. Like, people think we don't give a shit about cults. We could do cults if we wanted to do. It's not that hard. You just pitch some fucking bullshit, get people to believe it, because your consciousness creates reality. If that's the program, that's the narrative, that's the script you want to run, go for it. Cool. Not my thing. But basically, this is how I think it's going to work. On the Patreon, on whatever platform enables people to subscribe and get shit from me, that's where I'm going to be posting most of kind of the nuts and bolts, imaginal stuff. This podcast will probably turn more into just kind of a take on whatever the fuck is going on at the current time, because that's what I like. I'm going to have I say probably because I'm not going to commit to any of this, because that's what I like to do. Get one guest a week, Jesus Christ, one guest a month. So 2 episodes, one of them being a guest. That's, I think, how I'm going to do it. It fits in nicely with my schedule now. You may have heard I'm having another baby. That's 3 boys. I only sire males. If you need a boy, let me know. Hit me up. I'm available to have sex. Not actually right now. But if you want that, just know that it's pretty easy to have boys. All you got to do is be like, hey, I think I'm going to have a boy. And guess what? You have a boy. Prove me wrong. Okay. Not going to talk about vaccines today. People really hot button topic vaccines. Here's what I think is happening, by the way. Okay. And this is a preview of what you can expect on this podcast. Also, I got to accuse again of being a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. I found him entertaining in the same way I find Joe Biden entertaining. He can't speak right. It's funny. It's funny. He says weird shit about like spaghetti and little boys touching his hair legs. It's weird. It's funny. I'm here for it. It's fine. I don't care about politics anymore. I'm sorry. Is that unpopular? I just don't care. It's like a theater show or like a movie that like, I don't know. I'm not that into it. I don't think it's that cool. Do I deny that there is some practical benefit and power to the political structure? Sure, whatever. They legalized weed in New York. That's cool. I'm all for that. I like it. Let's keep that type of stuff up. That's what politics is good for. By the way, I'm going to start growing weed. Why wouldn't I grow weed? Anyone who has weed business experience and who's looking to do something in New York, get in touch. For real, though. Like, have a plan. Be organized. Let's do this shit. This is what the podcast is now. It's just me pitching half-baked business ideas and asking people to get in touch. So if that's what you're here for. But here's what I really think is going on. Listening to an excellent book by Richard Tarnas. Is that his name? Cosmos and Psyche. I've been told about it for a long time. Really good kind of drilling down into this paradigm of, this idea, these two divergent ideas seemingly. One is this idea of progress, that we're constantly moving forward, that we're striving, we're getting better, we're becoming more harmonious. And the other is this descent. It's going into chaos. It's all entropy. Everything is kind of getting worse. We just may not be able to see it. And these two ideas, while seemingly divergent, may actually be part of a whole. Weird. Wonder where that came from. But anyway, the reason this book is so good and something I've been thinking about is this idea of science versus, what do we want to call it? Woo? I don't think there should be a versus. I think a lot of us who kind of experience woo things on the regular, I was going to say on the regs and I stopped myself. I deserve a medal for that. People who experience that, take it for granted that, there may be some problems with science. And people who are very scientific and analytical minded sometimes make the mistake of dismissing anything that doesn't fit in with the current scientific empirical models. Let's talk about what I mean by science. It's a pretty nebulous term to a lot of people. All I mean is the way the science of today should or theoretically works is we make observations in the outside world and we go, looks like things are working like that. I'm going to come up with the hypothesis, an idea of why that might be, and then I'm going to test it. And if that happens to be true objectively, then it's true for everyone. The reason this is kind of breaking down right now is people seeing facts get distorted. What is a fact? Are we sure? What got me started on this? Oh yeah, vaccines. Who the fuck knows? You can tell me there's overwhelming science in favor of vaccinations being safe and helpful and great for COVID. The plain facts are and I'm not arguing for or against vaccines. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Literally. If that's negligent because you're pro-vaccine, sorry. I don't care though. If that's true, you have to use the empiricism to be like, all right, are we sure this is safe? Has there been any trials that are long-term studies? Of course not. It just came out. That's a choice. That's the scientific method. Where science tends to get a little wonky and becomes more like a cult or a religion than I think its adherents or proponents, exclusive proponents, are putting out is it's not exactly what we think it is. It's not that everything has this objective reality that we get to go look at and make observations from. It's certainly a way of believing. And guess what? If you really believe that, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to make some amazing observations that are insightful and probably radically change the world. That doesn't undercut what I believe to be the reality. If you test it, it's verifiable, that what precedes out there is inside. that your experience, your emotions, your feelings, your perspective quite literally goes into creating the world we live in. It creates it, it precedes it. This is not always a popular opinion. There is clearly a combination and a relationship between the two, but getting overly reliant on science or empiricism or analytical kind of observation is just as dangerous as getting in fully to everything all the time has nothing to do with science. That's also not a great tack to take. I think somewhere in the middle, somewhere wherever you are in the spectrum, acknowledging both sides, that's probably the best way to go about this. Maybe this is just my awareness and what I'm going through right now. You think? I do see a lot of what I would call progressive, kind of scientifically rooted mentalities posturing as though the God of science is always right, that's the best God, that's the one true God. If you listen to how some people speak about science, it's just as kind of zealot-like as someone who believes in only one deity to the exclusion of all others. It's just weird. And it's weird because it's almost like people are incapable of seeing these things. What I've learned is the more what you rail against, in this case, me against science, is usually more reflection of something you need to look more into, right? Does that make sense? This is kind of what we do when we find something we find unsavory, shadow material, or something we don't like, right? We take this approach. Sorry, I got to plug in my computer. We take this approach that we either need to chastise, condemn, or criticize it because it's uncomfortable for us to kind of like take in that other perspective. I'll point out that handling and being able to accept or entertain multiple perspectives is fundamental to having compassion, true compassion for yourself or for other people. It's literally a precursor. Compassion doesn't exist unless you are able to accommodate someone else's perspective, because compassion is literally dependent on you understanding that you should be compassionate pretty much to everyone. Even people who fucking enrage you, you should understand that's their perspective. You can disagree with how they got there. It could be the most wrong thing in the world, but accepting them, you don't have to go as far as loving them. It's a wise idea, but if you don't do that, that's fine. You don't have to be weird about it. Accepting their perspective gives you the platform in which to be compassionate towards other people. This is tricky. It can be self-serving at times. You can have a view and an image of yourself of a certain type of person who only does the right thing, never fucks up, never is mean to someone else, never is anything. That's probably distorted. Most people don't really engage from that platform. It's not impossible. Nothing is, but it does happen to be the case quite a bit that if you really think your shit don't stink, it probably stinks pretty bad. You make a poopy. It's not good. You're walking around with poop in your pants and you think you're not. And that's worse because it smells. It always smells. I haven't met poop that smells good ever. Haven't met poop that smells good ever. That's what you can expect from this podcast. That's what I'm getting at. So if you're here for the imagination techniques, go to another episode. Maybe I'll feature on the Patreon or break down in some easily indexable and digestible way how to do this stuff. But like I would say starting from July 2018-ish, 19-ish, is it 2019? It's all imagination stuff up until last week. From here on, maybe I'll stop this podcast and do another one. Maybe we'll just have another podcast and call it something else. So I need to think of a new name? That's possible. Regardless, this is what you can expect more of. I'm just going to be noticing things that are out there and speaking about those things and then having a guest on or guests on a monthly basis. That sounds fun. For the Patreon stuff, it's going to be crypto stuff. It's going to be live streams. It's going to be tarot. I'm going to have the energy readings open. Those are going swimmingly. I keep upping the price. People keep paying. They're good. We always feel good at the end of those, don't we? Anyone who's gotten one recently feels good, right? I don't know what the fuck exactly is going on, but it feels good. That's going to be over on the Patreon. That's kind of like if you want to take it a step further and kind of interact with the community of people who have... Here's the thing. I've even thought about stopping this podcast altogether. And every time I do that, every time I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll do that, I get like I don't say anything. I don't tell people I'm going to stop the podcast, but I get a shitload of incoming fucking messages that are like, thank you so much. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. You really helped me. This is what happened. And then I'm like, fuck. All right, there's clearly some service. So I want to honor that. I want to allow people who understand this stuff or vibe with it, an opportunity to continuously engage. Because I do this in my life. But if you are just here for that, you're probably better off going to the Patreon and seeing if you like it there. If you are gonna hang around for some other weird shit, I think you're gonna have a good time. I feel like live events are gonna be happening pretty soon. I want to say within the next 3 to 6 months. If you're in the New York area, that's probably where they will start. Thinking Brooklyn, right? Maybe Williamsburg, something like that. Yeah, have a good feeling about that. If you're into it, we'll figure something out. There's also been some chatter that Synchronicity or the Sync podcast, Crypto Sync community is going to be launching its own coin. I don't know how this is going to come about, but I do know enough developers, and I think we're able to do it. And I think there's enough liquidity and kind of bankroll between people in the server to get this going. I'll keep you posted. This is what I think is going to happen in the coming months. I'm just going to go out there on a limb. I think more and more people will continue to see how what we call reality is far more malleable and at our command in terms of, rearranging it or having it work the way that feels good for us than we thought. I think that's going to happen a lot with money. You've heard me talk about crypto quite a bit. Money's fucking cool. What did I write the other day? I can think of it in my head. I don't have to read what I wrote. Money, I love money for but many reasons. But one of the reasons is that it will show you what your relationship with money is faster than anything. Go figure. Money will do that. Crypto is a kind of like jacking that up on steroids, and you're going to learn real fast. Are you weird about money? Do you have certain thoughts about money? Do you think money is bad? Are you indifferent? Do you not need it? Do you don't care? It's going to show you what your relationship is. It's energy. It's a very potent energy. It's an energy that's represented power for a fucking long time in human history. Resources, money. It's one of those things. For us to not engage with it really isn't too much of an option. It's potentially an option. You may not have to devote a lot of time to it, but for me, I kind of take the work within the system to change the system idea. What that looks like is getting involved, kind of securing what I feel to be a financially independent state of being, which comes before you actually get the money, by the way. That's what happens. It's very clear to me at this point that you feel as though you're financially secure. You feel as though money flows to you. You feel that things are going to work out your way before they actually do. That's the trick of life. That's the trick of all this imagining stuff too. But when you actually have the symbolic representation of that freedom or power or whatever you want to call it, how do you want to use it? It's cool to buy nice shit. I'm fucking looking at a lot of nice shit right in front of my face that I bought. It's all musical gear. That's what I really like to spend my money on. But what will you do with that freedom? Heard someone talk about money being so valuable because it's essentially a representation of time. The more money you have, the more time you have. I don't know that I agree with that. I also don't know that I agree with that time is a finite resource. Yeah, we only have so long to live in this fucking incarnation, in this mode of perspective, as far as we know. What if this is forever? What if we're immortal and literally can choose to phase into any type of being and consciousness and awareness that we want? What about that? What happens there? That's possible. There was just a weird knock at the door. Hopefully I'm not getting murdered today. That'd be like, I guess like if that ever happened, like if some horrible thing happened to me while I was recording, I would hope someone would find it and put it out. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, not manifesting that into reality. Don't want to get murdered. Cool. But basically, money can be this tool that you use to kind of allow yourself to see that you have the freedom to feel what you want. There is a threshold, I will say, in modern society of when you're able to pay your bills, when you're able to go out to restaurants, when you're able to achieve kind of whatever you want, when you're able to provide for other people. Feels good. Am I the only one when it feels good to pay a bill sometimes? There's levels of fucking lack and abundance. I remember when I hated bills more than anything, and now I have this weird, like, oh, bill time, this is what I do. It feels good. I don't know. Just happened. But money, we're definitely going to be talking about abundance and lack for a while until we kind of collectively shift past this feeling of, a good hallmark of whether you've shifted out of lack to abundance feeling is if someone says to you, hey, you just kind of feel like you need to feel like you have more money and then you will. If you're like, no, it don't work for me. Maybe it works for you. That's fucking privilege. If you're reacting like that, it's lack. It's okay. It's not a big deal. One of the coolest things about accumulating resources or funds or energy or good vibes or whatever it is, you get to give them to other people. Isn't that cool? Don't hoard this shit. You don't want to hoard all the good vibes. Who would like that? It'd be a lonely, narcissistic life. We're doing this to share with other aspects of the one, of the divine, of consciousness, whatever you want to call it. We like to share. It's a fun thing to do. When you look back at the end of your life, when you're kind of hovering there or whatever the fuck is going on, you're going to be like, whoa, you know what was really fun to do? Like be generous and kind to other people. That's fun. Also fun to make fun of things. Fun to make fun of things. All right, that's cool too. You're going to look back at those experiences and feel a certain way. If your money is just a fucking survival game for you, shift out of that. That's fucking root chakra, muladhara, we're moving past that. I'm sure a lot of us can feel that. Surest way to restrict abundance into your life, be jealous, be envious, be angry at others' success, condemn, chastise. They don't deserve that. Be happy for people. It's not that hard. It's really not. Just actually be happy for them. What if it happened to you? Would you be happy for yourself? Cool. Be happy for another person. It's not a big deal. Even if you don't like them, just be happy for them. I had to learn this with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, not my type of guy. It's fine. He's cool. It's whatever. I'm not upset he's president. I was happy for him. I had to be happy for him when he was president. This is his lifelong dream, and it happened. Does he know what's going on? Is he aware that it's happening? I don't know. But, good for him. He did it. He knew it. He's like, I'm going to be president. I'm going to fall. Talk about fucking falling upwards. Jesus Christ. Anyway, nothing against the guy. I do, here's what it is. Here's what it is with Joe Biden. I got sucked back in to this motherfucking political shit. Here's what it is. Like I say, I got sucked back in. I'm willingly talking about all of it. He signed the Rave Act, which shut down clubs and warehouses in the early 2000s. From playing electronic music. Just grow up, dude. Really? Yeah, good thing that got rid of drugs. No one does drugs anymore. Thanks, buddy. Just come on. And you know what? He probably did it for reasons that have nothing to do with his belief or anything. It's just whatever. It's politics. That's why I don't pay attention to it. Vote for no one. Cool. Don't vote. You can vote if you want. I don't care. Have you learned yet? I assume people listening at this point have learned. I don't really care what you believe and what you do. Not in a way like I don't care, like fuck you. I just like whatever, man. That's what you're into. Don't, hopefully you're not into murdering people and just being a piece of shit. Most people aren't. You want to like this person? Great. Maybe I want to find out why you like that person. Maybe I disagree with the reasons that you like that person. Whatever. Am I going to walk around thinking about that? Most people, this is a good way to pull yourself out of the comparison trap too, don't really think about what you're thinking most of the time. Like the people I love the most in life, like I'll think about what they're thinking, but not even that much compared to how much I'm thinking about what I'm thinking. Maybe you too. So just try to remember that, like, just do what you want to do. Be the person you want to be. You have tough decisions to make tough decisions. There's one thing I can stand as, at least in my mind, that's all that counts for me, is I can say it's the shining example of someone who had to make some really fucking tough decisions related to my life, my children, my ex-wife, my new wife, right? A lot of big decisions didn't stress me out at all. Once I made up my mind, once I knew what I had to do, I just did it. I knew that it was right. And it's been right. And everyone who's thought it's wrong really has been proven kind of wrong to this point. Things are fucking amazing. for me and everyone else involved. And I think that's becoming more clear to everyone. So anyway, that's how your life works. Just make the commitment to be happy, feel good. Don't freak out when you're not. Don't freak out when you're in an ebb phase. That's not worth it. That's not fun. Prioritize things that are important to you. Is laughing funny to you? Is funny stuff funny? Is music funny? Is music stuff funny? Jesus Christ. Important. Music stuff can be funny. The other day I made it sound just like a fart in Ableton. It was great. It was weird. Took a left turn. Anyway, is that it? I don't think I have much else to say. Oh, yes, I did have 2 things to say about fear and doubt. They're awesome tools when you know what to do with them. Do you know what to do when doubt and fear creep into your life? You go, oh yeah, this is that thing I get to work on now. Cool. That's great. Hacking the matrix, leveling up, figuring it out, applying cheat codes, transcending reality. All it means is you wake up to the reality that it's you. The only time I fuck up, I had a weird dream last night. I just remember that. Wow. The only time I fuck up is when I forget that this is what I can do, that I can do whatever I want when I resolve to do it. That's the only time I fuck up. It's also the only time I kind of get in situations that are uncomfortable. It's when I forget that, oh yeah, I can do that. You'll also notice that as you internally stabilize yourself, these moments of dissonance really go down in frequency. Like they don't tend to happen as much. Like once you're over the thing, the triggers don't need to exist. Or if they happen, you're not triggered by them. That's nice. That's pleasant. I don't know. Maybe this isn't for everyone. I was thinking about my conversation with P. I was thinking about a conversation I had with Jessa about Arsenal energy. People have different ways of expressing themselves. It may be totally appropriate to get enraged and angry at other people because you see an injustice. That's a valid energy in terms of like sacred destruction. But if that's your go-to every single time something rubs you the wrong way, whether real or perceived, what's real though? But perceived, maybe not the great. Maybe change the mind there. I don't think it's super helpful. It also tends to make this mistake of blaming other people for probably something that if it's in your awareness, like you kind of created it. So yeah, you got to give up this fucking, this fun thing we get to do, which is blame other things and other people for being pieces of shit or being assholes and affecting our lives. Like you give that up and it's uncomfortable and it's not great and it's not fun sometimes, but it is liberating. It is empowering. And even if it's not comfortable all the time, it really helps you stay on track because you can get super off track if you start blaming other people for your problems. Or even if you think there's just like, you found like the golden secret to like amazingness all the time, your experience is unlikely to be that literally all the time. You may go through phases where it's like that for an extended period of time, but just like be prepared for that. Get ready for that. I think there's a natural balance. The higher up we go in terms of ascension or frequency, we do have this recalibration. It's like you hit the octave and then maybe you go down to the 5th for all my music people out there. Like you're gonna keep going up, but it's a process. It's not probably a straight shot as a lot of us probably would like. I don't think we would like it, right? It's way more fun like this. I just kind of believe ultimately this is the best timeline. It also is the most fun timeline. Does anyone else agree with that? Doesn't mean you're having fun right now. Been plenty of times where I don't have fun. But overall, can we agree it's pretty fucking fun? I think so. Anyway, that's it. That's what these episodes are now. That's what we're doing. We'll have cool guests. You have guests that you would like to hear me talk to or talk at, usually is the way it goes. Let me know. Write to me, noah@syncpodcast.com. You're good at least 2 episodes a month. At least. Maybe I'll start another podcast to kind of get that going. right? At least two episodes a month, and we'll have guests. The Patreon will have a lot more going on. Is this kind of an extended, long bait and switch? Maybe, but it feels more right to me. Like the Patreon's been taken off. I feel like the people who get kind of what we're doing here, like we're good. Like it's like the crypto server. Like we made it. We're good. We know that. And when you have a community of people who are interested in doing that, it's fun. So that's what goes on over there. We'll be kicking it up. These live events are happening. I can feel them. I'm going to see Sean and Cass from Very 8 podcast next week, and we'll get some shit popping off. Like I said, Brooklyn is feeling right. And then just expect a lot more music from me. I say it all the time, but this is like, I'm at the point in my life where like, I don't have to like freak out about anything. Just went through a crazy like 2-year period where I got divorced, had a baby, had a young second child, got divorced, got in a new relationship, having a baby, got married. It's been a lot. And I think I've done pretty good during that time. Now I get to focus on what I really want to do, which is fun. And I do want to keep doing these communications, whatever you want to call them, because you guys are fucking awesome. I see how many of you listen to this. I see what we're doing here. We're going to kick it up a notch. There's going to be more of a, I think, communal vibe of what we're doing. And it's going to be less of a focus on just like all the shit I've been talking about. Well, it obviously is a part of who I am and what I believe, but I feel like, we've done enough. We've spoken enough. There's other episodes. I'll feature them on the Patreon and other places. There's tons of shit. You get it. You know what's going on. There'll be other things for us to talk about that are woo and cool. But that narrative at this point, I feel like, we did it. We did it. I say this week. I guarantee next week I'll be back. Be like, imagination. Here's the technique. 1, 2, 3, 4. Laid it out. Got some new technique. That's usually how I work. But this is what I'm feeling right now. I also like having done this. I mean, if you can believe it, it's been, I think, over 5 years now. Almost 6 years, is that right, of this podcast? I've maybe missed like 2 or 3 weeks total. That's fucking crazy. What am I doing? It's fun, and I love it. Big shout out to my guys at Ned. They're fucking cool. They continue to sponsor this podcast. I guess it's working out for everyone. I love that. Go pick up their shit. HelloNed.com. Use the code SYNC, SYNC at checkout. 20% off your order. 15%? I'm just lying now. It's 15% off your order. They have this new program, Mellow. Helps you chill out. It's cool times. CBD, full spectrum hemp oil. If you're going to take CBD, if you're going to take any of this shit, just get it from them. They're good guys. Do I seem like the type of person who would hawk some shit that was crappy? No, it's good. HelloNed.com. Use the code SYNC at checkout. Get 15% off your order. That's it. Cool. I feel good. Feels good. Do you feel good? I hope you feel good. It's going to be a good week. We've had some real fucking gnarly energy. Not going to lie, been pretty nuts. Focus on it, what it is that you want to do. Do that thing with full conviction and passion. Know that it works out. I know this is like motivationally speakery and like, just do it. It's great. It feels good. We're really we're moving into a very supportive time for people who want to be in that energy. So that's fun. All right, that's it. Until next week, I'll see you later. I'm happy imagining. Do whatever you want. I'll see you later next week or some other time in the future. You're the coolest. Love you.